Hey guys, Borish here with another cooking video. Today we're going to make some steak. Here's what you need. You need a cut of steak right here. I prefer ribeyes. It's my favorite cut. I think they're the best. This is going to work well with New York, filet mignon, sirloin, whatever you got. You're going to need a cast iron skillet. You'll need a tong and oven glove because we're going to use the oven here. Some seasoning. I prefer kosher salt, pepper, and garlic powder. If you have regular salt, that's fine. Some people like onion powder, Cajun seasoning, that's all good. And then optional are oil and butter. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is preheat our cast iron skillet. I have two here. Either one of these work, just whatever you have that looks like this. It needs to be cast iron so it's oven safe. We're going to turn the oven on as high as it goes. So I'm going to go over here, turn it on to 500, and this is important. I need to preheat it with the pan inside. Now I want that pan to be really, really hot in that hot oven. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is season the steak. If you put oil on, don't use olive oil because it'll kind of smoke off at too high a heat that we're going to use. Canola oil, safflower oil should be fine. And again, this is optional, but I like to put a little bit on just to kind of add a little more fat. So I'll dab a little bit on this side. And then once you put the oil in, go ahead and mix it in with your hands. Obviously, we'll need to wash our hands. Put the salt on first. I like kosher salt, and most chefs recommend it with steak, but regular salt's fine. So we'll just go ahead and dab a little bit on, however much you like. And then whatever other seasonings. And like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit of pepper here, and then a little bit of garlic powder. If you're into onion powder, that's fine. If you want to get cute, you can use paprika or white pepper or something. That's fine too. Okay, and then let's go ahead and flip these over. We want to make sure we season both sides so it has kind of a uniform taste throughout. So I'll put a little more oil on each of these sides. Again, we'll start with the salt on each side first. Once we've done our kosher salt, we'll do the pepper and the garlic powder. And we're going to let this sit now for about 10-15 minutes while we wait for the oven to preheat. We want to make sure the oven gets up to 500 degrees. We want to make sure that cast iron skillet is nice and hot in there. And all right, we'll be back in a couple minutes when this is preheated. I'll see you then. Okay guys, well the oven is preheated, our steaks are seasoned. Let's go ahead and get going. What we're going to do is we're going to cook them on the stove just for a minute. Literally a minute, and then we're going to put it back in the oven. So I'm going to take this out with my glove. I'm going to keep the oven on at 500 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to turn on the heater up as high as it goes. So I got my front burner on as high as it goes. Again, I want this to be really hot. When the steak hits, I want it to sizzle. And that's the key. Because what we're going to do now is cook it for 30 seconds on each side. And the point of this is not so much to cook it, but more to brown the sides. So let's go ahead and put our steaks on. I just have the two steaks here. I'll just use a fork. Go ahead and there's one. Ooh, you can hear it sizzle already. And here's two. Okay. So I got those spread out. They're both in there. Let's go ahead and set a timer for 30 seconds. That's on. So the general process, what we're going to do here, we're going to cook them for 30 seconds on one side, flip it. 30 seconds on the other side. And once we finish that, we're going to take that and just put that straight into the oven and just cook it for a couple minutes each there. Okay, so let's see, we have 10 more seconds here, and again, this is doing the browning, and what this is going to do is give us a nice sear on both sides, and once we have that, then what we'll do is the oven, we'll go ahead and cook it through and make sure it's a nice pink. Okay, so that was 30 seconds. Let's go ahead now. I'm going to take these tongs right here, flip the steaks over. Okay, you can see already it's pretty brown right there. Alright, flip them over, so both the steaks are flipped. Again, you can hear it sizzling. It's on as high as it can go. We'll set the timer for 30 more seconds. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about here, my instructions are going to be for medium rare steak. If you like medium steak, you're just going to add a little bit to the cooking time you need to experiment. If you want a rare steak, you just need to subtract a little bit. If you like your steak well done, you're wrong. Don't do it that way. That's the wrong way to eat steak. Okay, so we got 10 more seconds left. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take the pan with the steak still in it and put that directly into the oven. Okay, so we're out of time there. We'll turn the burner off and I'm going to turn this, oops, and just put this directly into the oven. You can have it sizzling. Make sure you got the mitt. Keep it open just as short as you can. Okay, now I'm going to set my timer here for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you have a thicker cut, you may want to go as high as 3 minutes, 3 minutes 15. If you have a thinner cut of steak, you might go as low as maybe 2 minutes, but I wouldn't go lower than that unless it's insanely thin. But 2 minutes 30 seconds is a good barometer. Okay, so we'll come back in a minute to flip it. So the timer just went off, we're going to go ahead and flip it to the second side now. So I want to leave the open door open as short of a time as possible so the heat stays in. So I'm going to open it, take it out real quick. Just going to set it back on the stove. And again, I want to make sure it cooks evenly. So I'll just go ahead now, take my tongs, and flip the 2 steaks back to the original side here. Okay, so the steaks are flipped. Now we're taking it back to the oven for the very last part. So we'll take this, we'll put this in the oven. Again, set the timer here for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And we'll come back in just a minute to see the finished product. All right, well, that was 2.5 minutes in the oven. Let's go ahead and take it out now. Now, here's the key. We're gonna let it sit, but we're not gonna let it sit in this pan. The pan is extremely hot. So what I'm gonna do, I'll take it out of the pan and just put it on a normal plate. And this could just be one of the plates you use for dinner. You don't wanna eat it right away. With most meats, and especially with a nice cut of beef like this, you wanna let it sit for a couple minutes for the juices to distribute, for it to finish cooking before you cut it. Now, also to help it, I have some aluminum foil, but first, and this is another optional step, if you want a little extra, little juicy sizzle, here's the butter, just take a little bit of the butter, and you'll just go ahead and put that on top. Just do a small sliver, you know, if you're a restaurant, you can put half a stick or whatever, but we're just gonna put a little bit on, just to give it a little extra flavor and fatty goodness. Okay, now I'm gonna take a piece of aluminum foil, I'll cover it up, and just kind of wrap it around. It doesn't need to be super tight, but you wanna make sure it keeps the heat in. And we'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes to go ahead and cut in. Wait a couple minutes. I think we're about ready. Let's go ahead and cut into the steak and make sure it's done. Obviously, if you overcooked it, you're kind of screwed. But if you undercooked it, you just put it in the oven another 30 seconds to season. This is perfect. This is what we want. Nice brown on the outside, pink throughout. And this is going to be just a terrific steak. So I'd recommend pairing this. I made some mashed potatoes tonight. It's great with double baked potatoes. It's great with a fresh loaf of bread. But anyway, our steak is ready. My kid's hungry. Let's go eat.